Hello everyone. In this video, we're going to be talking about the fastest way to add shadows and highlights in a digital art program. And that way is by using the Gaussian blur. So for this example, I'm going to be using Procreate 5X on an Apple iPad, but you can use whatever other raster art software you want. So Photoshop or GIMP or others. I'm going to choose my light to come in from the top left corner of the drawing, so from here. And the first thing I want to do is add a shadow consistent to this. So I'm going to go to the layers, create a new layer below the red circle, and put an ellipse like this just under the circle. Now I'm going to go to the Gaussian blur setting and blur this until I am happy with the result. So depending on what kind of drawing you're actually working on, you can have the shadows harsher or lighter. This is just fine for me. So the only thing I don't like is the shape, and I'm gonna just use it, move it around, transform it a bit, move it around, use the warp tool to get it in the shape that I actually want it to be. All right. So now with the shadow out of the way, we're gonna create a new layer this time on top of the red circle. Make it a clipping mask so it doesn't go outside the borders of the circle. And we're gonna start adding some highlights. So for this, I'm gonna go with white and create a bean type shape right in the upper left part of the ball. So this is going to be my main highlight. So this is going to be where the light hits it, the lightest part of the drawing. I'm going to go to Gaussian blur again and blur this until I am happy with the dispersion. This is looking fine for me. And what again I'm not happy with is the shape. So I'm going to warp it a bit and move it around just like this. Okay, this is fine now. So here we have the basic shadow and the basic highlight. But to take this a bit further, we can add multiple layers. We can add multiple shadows, highlights, whatever, to make it more realistic. So the next step would be to add some bounce lighting, so some rim lighting, how it's also called. And I am going to create a new layer, again as a clipping mask so that it doesn't go outside the borders of the circle. And I'm going to draw a sliver of white in the bottom right part of the ball. So the Gaussian blur and blur it until I'm happy with it. Usually rim lighting is a bit more aggressive, a bit more not so diffuse in comparison to the main highlight. So I'm gonna again modify the shape a bit because I'm not happy. Right. So here now I'm happy with it. If we want to emphasize the main highlight, what we can do is create a new layer as a clipping mask on top of the circle, and on the main highlight in the top left part, create another ellipse of white and start blurring that like so. So this is not going to be blurred as much as the original diffused highlight, and this is going to be the point where the light hits the hardest into our newly formed sphere. And of course, this is going to be very, very white. Now, these are the main highlights with the main shadow. One more thing you can do with Gaussian blur is consider the color of the object, so the red of the circle, as a mid-tone. And we're going to add another darker tone by using Gaussian blur. So I'm going to create a new layer on top of the red circle, but this time below the highlight layers. And I'm going to use black again and start with again, a bean shape, fill it out, go to Gaussian Blur, and start blurring it until we're happy with it. So I'm happy with the blur now. I'm now happy with the shape again. I'm going to pull on it a bit. So what we have now is multiple tones, and you can repeat this process, rinse and repeat as many times as necessary, depending on how realistic you want the final product to be. Of course, you can use other colors for shades and highlights. So if we were to have this under a yellow light, I would be using some orange and some yellow. But for this example, to better illustrate it, I was using black and white. Thank you everyone for watching, and catch you in the next one. Cheers.